The late 1970s was high time for seasoned rock journeymen to pull their talents together into congregates that were bigger than the sum of their parts. One such outfit was Aviator, who in 1978 assembled from the lineups of various bands of the 70s and recorded a self titled album released the following year, and from that release, the epic closing track, Morning Journey. Supposed to resemble the morning dizziness. Drinking that first cup of coffee. Pulling it all together. Or maybe just kind of stepping out before the sun has really risen, when it's just kind of peeking out. Listen while I tell you something. The lyrics are not praying anywhere. I'm going to have to follow this really closely. I've been trying to find a leader to take me by the hand. Seeing through all the madness, giving me a sign. Silence if they never come. Are you really someone's hero? I have to say, I like how these verses are like, there's like a melodic arc, but it keeps modulating and landing, and it seems to like resolve in a different landing key each time. Good use of like chromatics in like power chord type progressions. This band has some compositional devices at their disposal that a lot of hard rock bands up to this point didn't have. They're expanding on the whole idiom. Like that progression right there, throwing in all these different chords, like just a lot. Definitely much a capacity for like chordal construction that's just beyond your typical like band that only knows 3 chords, 5 chords, and the solutions and the key centers, like where they start and where the progression winds up is just. This band are pushing the envelope. No, B flat. That's something I hadn't heard yet in here. I'm afraid I'm a little bit lost on the plot of this, but from what I gathered during the first verse, it's about some kind of maybe clandestine operation of sorts. That is Jack Lancaster, who had quite like a storied career, starting from 1969 with Blodwyn Pig, played on A Head Rings Out, was then on the 1970 singular album by Pacific Drift, as well as the second Blodwyn Pig, onto the Mick Abrams band, and played on a 1973 Pete Brown album that I'm not really familiar with. And then moving on, did a collaborative album in 1976 with Robin Lumley of Brand X, Marscape. Yeah, good spacey jazz rock kind of electronic album. And then guested on the first Brand X album, which Robin Lumley was a member of. Unorthodox Behavior, played on, God, just about every album is just, every one of these is like almost like a must-have. In 1977 was on The Geese and the Ghost by Anthony Phillips, his first album, released his first solo album 7 years after leaving Genesis, and onto this band, and for two albums, and that's just one of the guys with quite an accomplished background to be in this band that we're hearing right now.
Will be the man who knocks on your door. He finds no love embedded inside.
I like the arrangements right here. We've got the nimble bass work, the woodwinds, the kind of plucked electric guitar, and the harmonies, the kind of high pitched harmonies.
He takes you on that morning journey, but you've been taken for a ride.
Those bass lines, I've heard bass lines like that on Brand X on Brand X albums. I think kind of like it almost sounds like he's doing harmonic notes on a bass, like octave pull off type hits. Maybe octave slaps, octave taps. And now it's going into a different cadence here. It's really revving up. And let's see, on guitar we have Mick Rogers, who during the 1970s had played in Manfred Mann's Earth Band from their first album in 1972 up through the 1976 Roaring Silence album. Yeah, the one that got them more of the audience they deserved, and then was on in this band for two albums, and then I think rejoined Manfred, or maybe I think rejoined Manfred Mann's Earth Band later. Love that modulation. The best is yet to come. Let's hear some of, or find out. Let's see. The whole time the bass work, and I should have introduced this a bit earlier when I was when I was like drawing attention to those little taps that I like, those harmonic taps. John J. Perry, the ubiquitous John J. Perry, who I guess first emerged in Gringo in 1971, an album that had yeah, that was the band. Kind of pop band, melodic pop, that also had Henry Marsh, who would later turn up in Sailor. And he was John J. Perry was then in Caravan for a few albums, joined for Girls Who Grow Plump in the Night in 1973, and was with them for the New Symphony album as well, and then joined Quantum Jump, which put out 2 albums in the late 1970s. And also put out the solo album Sunset Wadding in 1976. And then onto this, and then later he played on albums by a bunch of people, Sally Oldfield, even a late period Eric Burden album. And let's see, and now I'm going to just back this up slightly, so because the best is yet to come, I tell you. Let's see if I can. I want to see if I can get the lyrics a bit more before we have here. Listen while I tell you something. You may not understand. I've been trying to find a leader to take me by the hand. Seeing you through all your madness. Giving me a sign. I wonder if this is about Jim Jones. Hear Mick Rogers just scale about on those fading notes. I just love the way they play out to the max on these closing notes. You just play and play. God, what a grand finale to an album, to a song and to an album. Yeah, Aviator, Morning Journey. Yeah, those final like minute and 45 seconds. God, I could definitely say in my top 100 song sections of the year that this was released, out of, yeah, in the top 10% of my top 10%. And let's see, that album also featured the drumming, as was becoming quite prominent toward the end there, of Clive Bunker, who had been in Jethro Tull from their first album, this was 1968, to 1971's Aqualung, and went on to Blodwyn Pig for a bit. bit after their first two albums, though, and then as the '70s went on, appeared on albums by Gordon Giltrap. Was on a recording by Steve Hillage, though not an official album. Let's see, and oh, Jack Lancaster solo. Um, yeah, a little bit. Let's see, what else? Basically, Gordon Giltrap. Aside after the Jethro Tull Blodwyn Pig, this was like his biggest gig. Wild Turkey. Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Glenn Cornick's post Tull project there. Um, I was almost wondering, was he involved? That was did he fall? No, he wasn't involved in Paris. I was thinking he may have been. Nah. Anyway, Aviator, a super group of sorts, because they had all been, uh, if not household names, they had all played on things that people were aware of, and they had all been in some name bands and had quite accomplished backgrounds going back 10 years. And that by the time they got together, they just knew a few compositional tricks, a few ways of piecing chord progressions together that were more sophisticated than the average band. And they had played in so many different types of music that they brought that when they pulled all their talents together, they came up with something like San Genre. Like it defies categorization. It's really not fair to even put a combination of labels at them. It's just it's the summation of all that was great about the maximalist '70s all inclusive music scene. You know, drawing from the higher idioms and weaving it into something completely their own and just rich in harmonic and, you know, and I would imagine lyrical depth. And was the God? I'm is this like the fifth video where I've ended up mentioning or making some reference to Jonestown? I can't, but it would only make sense if this was somewhat about that, since it was, I don't know, recorded around that time. Possible. Um, Anyway, for more Rubies and Sapphires from the two Aviator albums, see the directory of albums by English A artists linked in the description below. Like and subscribe, follow me on social media, and comment if there are any insights you have into these lyrics or observations you have about the music. And until next time, this is Zaragon, the world's most ear travel trimaximalist, signing off.